Hello, everybody. It's Larisa here. Welcome to my Lunch and Learn, where each and every week I am here with topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life, your business, your finances, your health, your wealth, and relationships. And today I am talking about unconscious ways that you're sabotaging your health and well-being and what specifically you can do about it. Just going to open up my chat so I can see it if you guys have anything to say. Okay, good. So if you've ever found yourself getting sick and tired over and over and over again and wondered why some people just seem to have energy to burn, maybe you found yourself on one healthy eating plan and then you try another one and just you can't keep going. You're finding yourself eating a bag of chips for dinner at the end of the night or sneaking ice cream after hours. Maybe you've started a workout routine that makes you feel good and you legitimately feel good and you have great intentions of continuing, yet you can't stick to it for more than a week or two. And if that's you, this is for you, because I'm going to share with you why you can't force yourself into these things, at least not consciously. And I'm also going to share how your unconscious mind is the actual driver behind your success. So some of you know me, some of you don't. I am Larisa McCooch, author of Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, Discover the Secrets to More Time, Money, and Freedom. I'm also a master results coach and CEO of Abundance Academy, where we help professional women whose outer and external results tell the world they're successful, but on the inside, they know they're destined for more. So I help them stop holding themselves back, go after their dreams, and radically expand their income so they can love themselves, love their business, and love their lives. So I would love to know where you're coming in from. If you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if it's your very, very first time here, type in first time in the chat. I absolutely thank you for being here and appreciate your presence. So I'm going to share a couple stories with you. I've always been really, really active through dance. And I never considered dance exercise. I didn't like the word exercise. However, in 8th grade, I was reading a magazine. We used to have magazines back then. I don't know if they're as popular these days amongst young people, but I was reading a magazine and they were talking about working out and getting cardio and strength training. So I figured I should get on the bandwagon. Well, I decided to run and I made it about halfway down my block before my chest felt like it was going to absolutely explode. I was just gasping for breath and it didn't feel good. I was getting really, really discouraged. However, I was like, okay, I've got to keep going. I'm going to do this. And so I kept walking and then I'd run for short bursts. I walked, I'd run for short bursts. I'd walk longer and run for little tiny bursts. And I made it a few whole blocks before packing it in. And I was just so incredibly discouraged because I wanted to do this thing and thought I should do it, but I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't feel successful. And besides, I was a dancer. So I was trying I kept trying throughout the season to work out and be this exercise person like in the magazines, but the more I tried, the more discouraged I got. And it wasn't until many years later that everything started to change. So flash forward a few years and I was working at a Pilates studio. One of my favorite meals when I started working there was pasta, white pasta, and cheese, or gummy candies for lunch. That was my alternative. And I had some serious blood sugar issues back then, but one of the girls at the studio, she was studying holistic nutrition, and she'd sit in one of the stations in the staff room to do her work, and she'd drink her breakfast smoothie and eat her lunch. And this happened on Fridays, and I remember I kept looking at her smoothies. I'd look at her lunch, and I'd ask, "What's in your smoothie? What's in your lunch?" And all I really knew was the salads that my mom made growing up. So she made a Caesar salad. She made a garden salad. She would make a salad with romaine lettuce and mandarin oranges and almonds and strawberries. And so there was a handful of salads I was familiar with, but I didn't know you could do anything different. Like I really had no clue. And so I kept getting really curious as I saw her ingredients, and she kept telling me, and the more I learned about it, the more curious I got. I started asking her about the benefits, and my curiosity took me over. And over time, I tried some of these things. They were really, really good. And they made me feel more energized, more vibrant. And over time, it took me a really long time to change my diet and my healthy living practices. However, everything took a full turn. They went full circle. It just made a 360-degree change, and my life is so radically different than back then. Now, by the time I wrote my book, The Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, I had done a major overhaul to my lifestyle. So it's discover the secrets to more time, money, and freedom. And one of the biggest things that I realized that is part of the puzzle, not the only part of the puzzle, but a part of the puzzle is health, right? Without health, you have nothing. And as I was writing, I decided to make one of the chapters on health. And it was a massive part of how I showed up. And it was such an empowering thing to my life that I knew I had to have this message and share it with others. Now, the hardest thing was my word count was limited as I was writing this book. So I'd write. And I think my health chapter it was so long. I had to cut it not in half, probably in like a tenth, because there was so much I wanted to share. And I remember as I was writing, I just felt so empowered because I knew what I was saying. I knew why I was saying it. And I just felt so incredibly empowered because I wanted other people to feel that way too. And at that point, I wasn't just talking the talk. I'd walked the walk. I'd done so many major overhauls. And even when I had a day where I didn't eat perfectly or in my ideal way, I wasn't off for 6 months or a year or 2 years. I would, if I had a piece of chocolate, if I had something that wasn't optimal, I could just go make a better choice the next day. And it didn't have to take my entire health and wellness over. And so it was really something simple that led to that change. And so why am I sharing this with you? Well, without health, you have nothing. Without health, you have nothing. This is what's going to give you the fuel and energy to do what it is that you want to do, that you were put on this planet to do. It's going to give you the ability to stay mobile and capable of traveling the world, playing with your grandkids, and leaving the legacy that you were meant to. So ask yourself, do you want to feel more empowered when it comes to taking control over your health and well-being? Do you want to say goodbye to some of those bad habits and health practices that you haven't been able to kick with relative ease? And can you imagine yourself happier, healthier, wealthier than ever before? Well, that's exactly what this talk is all about. We're looking at the unconscious ways you are sabotaging your health and well-being so you can do something about it. So you want to start taking advantage and in charge of your unconscious mind so you can put yourself in the driver's seat of your own life and reclaim your optimal state of health that God gave you. Now, when it comes to the term health, according to the World Health Organization, health is a state of complete physical and social and mental well-being. It's not just an absence of disease or infirmity. So there's many definitions, and a lot of the definitions are just health is the absence of dis-ease. And I really love this complete state of well-being, because that's what it's all about. It's not just let's prevent disease, let's have a beautiful and supportive and aligned life. The term well-being, according to Oxford Dictionary, is the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. Now, traditionally, the healthcare system is designed to keep us alive and fix problems with our health, often by masking our symptoms so we just don't feel the pain anymore, or they take radical measures just to keep us going and moving forward. It's not so much about keeping you in your optimal state of health. So I am so grateful for the medical system. If I didn't have the medical system having my son, giving birth to my son, I probably would not be here. I'm grateful to the care that the doctors and the nurses took of me. However, when it came to taking care of my digestive system, my energy levels, so many other things, the healthcare system failed me. And I know it does fail a lot of people because it's not designed to help you have an enriched life. Traditionally, that's what the alternative healthcare system is. And so amazing when life-threatening situations arise. But if you think about the diseases out there, the dis-eases out there, most of them are actually preventable. And most of them exist because of really poor lifestyle choices. Think about it. Diabetes wasn't around, especially at the rates like they are today, 50, 60 years ago, heart disease, cancer, respiratory diseases, neurological conditions like Alzheimer's, psoriasis of the liver or cirrhosis of the liver. And these conditions are man-made. And there may be some genetic components out there. However, most of our lifestyle choices can dramatically impact how we actually move forward with them. So what I want you to think about and what you need to know is really looking at how does sabotage show up when it comes to your life? How do you sabotage your health and well-being? What does it look like, sound like, feel like? Well, maybe it's eating processed and packaged foods or just being sedentary. You look outside and you go, wow, sun is shining. I'm going to just sit here and do my work. I'm going to just sit here. I'm too tired to go outside, or I don't feel like exercising. Maybe you start something and you don't follow through, like an eating or a movement program. There's all kinds of excuses and they may be legitimate. However, there's still excuses. Perhaps it's by self-medicating or overeating, drinking, smoking, doing drugs, doing things that other people ask you to do, giving into peer pressure, maybe even from an emotional standpoint, engaging in gossip and lowering your energetic vibrational frequency by saying bad things that you don't even believe, that are toxic to your mind and to the cells of your body, adding stress to your life, perfectionism, procrastination. You get the picture. So you have a conscious mind and an unconscious mind. Both are important and both work together. Now, your conscious mind is responsible for 5% of your results. Your unconscious mind, which is the heart, is responsible for 95% of your results. And so your unconscious mind actually looks at everything around you. It senses everything. It's like you have spidey senses. It hears everything around you, and it ingests 11 million bits of information per second. That's a lot. Your conscious, logical, thinking mind only processes 128 bits of information per second. Now, your unconscious mind consists of your feelings, your identity, your habits, your belief systems, your automatic responses, the way your body functions. And it's so much more powerful when it comes to your results. It's responsible for 95% or more of your results. And so we get into more detail, and we have like really great visuals and diagrams, and go into more depth as to how our unconscious mind works and how it really takes things from our outer world, processes them inside, and translates them into our behaviors. So if that's something you're interested in, our two where we really go into depth are Abundance Activation Intensive and Hypnotize Yourself to Success. So those are the two from our programming where we go into depth. So if you want to learn more, that's something that we can talk about later. However, on the surface, you may think that these things that you do, these choices that you make, don't make sense. Right? Consciously, you might be like, oh, well, eating a bag of chips for dinner doesn't make sense, but why do I keep doing it? Or why do I keep saying these horrible things about myself? I know it's not good, but I just can't stop saying awful things about myself, and how fat my muffin top is, or how imperfections in my body aren't beautiful. Like we say awful things to ourselves, and these things tarnish our cells. They tarnish our energy. And so on the surface level, you may think they don't make sense, yet why do you keep turning to them? Why do you keep doing them? So there's three key reasons that they happen. So the first is modeled behavior. Perhaps some of these things or practices that you do are things that your parents or grandparents or caregivers did. And this is probably one of the biggest factors that comes up. So in our culture, in my culture, it was typical to eat a lot of bread and carbs with each meal. We would have bagels for breakfast. At home, my mom fed us bagels for breakfast. I had like the driest sandwiches for lunch with like a tiny sliver of lettuce. I remember asking my mom, can I have more lettuce? I don't love eating dry bread sandwiches for lunch. And I wanted more lettuce intuitively, but I didn't understand why. We'd have rice or pasta for dinner, and I never felt good in my body. And it was always what I was given because that's what Canada Food Guide said. And so when I moved out, I didn't know what else to eat. I ate the things I was taught. And in the magazines and cookbooks I read, all of the typical things we ate were in there. Yet this way of eating was actually hurting my body. And I had no real source or reference point to know any different. So Also, some meals had a lot of meaning. My grandmother loved KFC, and we had it for her birthday and every Mother's Day. We would celebrate that way pretty much. And even for years after she passed away, I would drive to KFC and make sure to buy KFC on her birthday and on Mother's Day to carry on the tradition, because I didn't want to disappoint her. She had passed away, and I needed to carry on that tradition for so many years. And I never felt good. I always felt sleepy. My head would hurt. Yet I kept doing it because that's what my grandma would have wanted. Now, the fact is, your parents and grandparents didn't teach you things, or your others in your world. If they didn't teach you healthy practices, it's probably because they either didn't have access to the information that we have today and healthy eating practices, or they maybe just didn't have access to the foods we have today. My grandma grew up on a farm during the war. Like, she was happy to have any food. And so they taught what they knew, and you unconsciously adopted it as a way of being. And this is one of the major reasons people have the same dis-eases as their parents or grandparents have. And they say, oh, it's genetic. Like, yes, has genetic components. However, if you change your lifestyle, there is a much greater chance that these dis-eases will not be passed down to you or future generations. It's not the case for everything, but for the majority of things out there, because they adopt the eating, the movement practices, the lifestyle practices of their parents and grandparents. Maybe you stay up really, really late, or you wake up really, really early, or you have insomnia, or you're used to being sick and tired. Even some of the things they say, oh, I'm just so sick and tired. Well, I used to hear that growing up, and you know what I saw? My mother being sick and tired. It wasn't until she stopped saying that she stopped being sick and tired. So what did I say? Oh, I'm just sick and tired. And I was sick and tired. So what you model from people is huge. And unconsciously, you might not even be aware of this. And so it's really important that you start paying attention. So the first thing is modeled behavior. This is one reason that you unconsciously just do things. You're doing things out of your awareness. And so you've got to start paying attention. Now, the second thing is you're being put in a constant state of trance. You're being put in a state of trance by the media, by these electronic devices you use. And as soon as you find yourself swiping or just doing things on autopilot, clicking, typing, and not really thinking, just letting your fingers move, and you might see your head moving, or you're like, yep, 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 yep. You just get into the state of trance. You're driving in trance and on autopilot. You cook dinner because you know what to do in trance. Most of your life is in trance. It's an unconscious process. You do a lot of things automatically without thinking, and that's okay. We like I said, we go into what trance is again in our Hypnotize Yourself to Success training. Your unconscious mind actually thinks faster than the conscious mind can process. It thinks really, really fast. So your unconscious mind is so much more powerful. And so when you're going on this autopilot, your conscious mind isn't working to filter things at its optimum. And we're told that convenience is a good thing. You've got TV, phones, media, video games for kids. They program us to keep watching and just keep going. When you're on these devices, you are literally in trance. And these days, when you really think about it, you're in this constant state of trance. And when you get subject to something like peer pressure, you're like, oh yeah, well, I need to be cool, so I need to say yes to my friends. I need to do this so I could be accepted by these people. A lot of times we just unconsciously go along with things without making our own conscious choices, because there's something deeper that we're seeking. We're seeking love, acceptance, a state of connection, and we're doing it automatically without finding a healthier way. And so being in this constant state of trance keeps you out of awareness until you begin to be aware. So really important. Just being mindful of these things. Now, the third thing that I want to bring up, the third reason that you keep turning to these self-sabotaging patterns is you may have a health and wellness goal on the surface. You may even be doing the actions, but you might not be getting the results. Why? Because your belief system and your identity don't match. So at the first opportunity to escape, you do so. And so you can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And what do I mean by that? Now, being a failure may not feel good, does it? However, if you've tried and failed, and you've tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed 100 times in your life before, you know what is comfortable is predictability. So you try and you fail. Well, I know what the feeling of failure is. That's comfortable. We call it comfortably uncomfortable. And maybe this comes with low self-esteem, low confidence, low self-worth, or even low belief in yourself. And staying as this image of your current self, this person that doesn't know how to do things, that knows how to fail, that knows how to retreat. You have an image of yourself. And if you maintain that current image, that one that has not had healthy health practices, you're going to stay in your current state, no matter what actions you do, because you might do them for a while, but you'll have to go back because that inner part of you has to fulfill your identity. You need to walk, talk, and believe like the person you are. And in this case, if you want to change your health identity, you've got to do that like the person you wish to become, a healthy, a vibrant woman. You can't just fake it till you make it. You literally need to become her. You need to think like her. You need to feel like her. You need to develop the belief system like her and the habits as well. You've got to make decisions like her. However, so often people just try to do the habit changes and go through the actions without aligning their thoughts and their feelings and belief system first. You've got to do that together. So I'm just going to go over some solutions. So what do you do about these things? Okay, so we've got modeled behavior that keeps our unconscious like just moving on autopilot. You're in this constant state of trance, and your health goals are not matching your identity and belief system. So what do you do about it? 3 steps. You've got to get educated. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. And the more you learn about something and understand how it really works, the easier it is to accept it. When you know how something works, it's going to be easier to realize some of the things that your family modeled for you that were perhaps not the best way of being. Perhaps eating white pasta with cheese is not the best thing to keep my energy up. I heard athletes need carbs in pasta, but I didn't need pasta on a daily basis. I didn't give my body a break. So I modeled these things and I didn't know the difference. However, once I learned, it was a lot easier to try new things. And so when I learned the benefits of eating many more vegetables and healthy, clean proteins, that radically shifted how I ate. Will I still have pasta? Absolutely. Is it my dominant food group? Absolutely not. It's more of a once a week or once a month thing. And so this is where you want to start learning about your health, learning about your well-being, learning about sleeping patterns, learning about movement, effective movement. I worked in a Pilates studio for nearly 10 years, and I learned the difference between just moving your body and really moving your body intentionally. Massive, massive difference. So get educated and apply it. Second thing you want to do is pay attention. Literally just pay attention to yourself and raise your awareness. What results do your current health or lack of health practices lead you to? Do you feel tired after eating? Do you wake up refreshed? Or do you feel like a truck has just run over you and you drag yourself out of bed? How specifically are you sabotaging yourself? Do you find yourself running to the kitchen? Do you find yourself skipping out on activities? Do you find yourself saying things to yourself when you look in the mirror that aren't kind? So pay attention and raise your awareness, because you can't make a change until you know what specifically, and I'm using the word specifically, you need to change. And specificity is really important. You can't just say, oh, I just don't eat healthy. What specifically are you doing? Because then you can start looking at what's underneath that and what's underneath that and what's underneath that. But until you have something very clear that you can look at and sink your teeth into, it's not going to have any meaning. It's like, ooh, healthy eating. That has no meaning. It doesn't have any meaning. However, eat a salad for lunch has meaning versus eat leftover deep fried something from dinner. Deep fried chicken wings. Okay. Deep fried chicken wings versus a salad. Why would I eat the deep fried chicken wings? Oh, well, they're leftovers and I don't want to waste money. I want to, so perhaps you're eating because you don't want to waste money. You're eating the leftovers because you want to be frugal and you want to save. Well, who taught you how to do that? What specifically is underneath that? Maybe some of your health practices are due to more of a scarcity mindset. Perhaps you for us, it was eat all your food on your plate because there are starving children in Africa. And so I learned to overeat because there were starving children in Africa. So it's just a matter of paying attention. What are you saying? What are you doing specifically? The third thing is build an identity of a healthy person and become her in all aspects. You want to build your beliefs as that healthy woman and make sure that your beliefs then align with your behavior to suit. Okay, so you've got to actually align those thoughts, those feelings, the beliefs with the behaviors you're trying to do. So if you are, let's say, if you're taking the identity on as a healthy person, well, I'm a healthy person and healthy people eat vegetables. So I eat vegetables with every meal. I'm a healthy person. I eat vegetables with every meal. I'm a healthy person. More than half my plate is full of a rainbow of vegetables, steamed or raw. Okay, something simple like that. I'm a healthy person. I eat a lot of vegetables. Simple. I'm a runner and runners run. Runners don't watch people run. Runners put on their shoes and their outfits and go out for runs. That is aligning your behavior, but taking on the identity of that runner. So making sure that you look at yourself as that person and you start doing those behaviors to match. Okay. It's not just the belief, they have to align. So this is really simple stuff, but it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy. The key is to actually do something about it. So what I want you to do is take these concepts, sink your teeth into them, and run with them. If you are interested in learning more about the unconscious mind and how it works, we are hosting a Hypnotize Yourself to Success workshop. It's actually this weekend, this Sunday from 11 to 7 Eastern time. It's the first time we've run it in about 2 years. It's not a regular thing, so it's a super, super special and intimate event. And what you're going to learn is how to boost your focus by up to 10,000 times and learn how to speak to your own unconscious mind. So this is where you can learn about what trance is. And instead of just adopting this unconscious trance out of your awareness, you can choose the trance you're in. So you're not living life by default, and you can do it by design. This is phenomenal for business goals, for health goals, for personal goals, for anything and everything in your life. You can improve your sleep. You can improve so many things, even your metabolism, if that's of interest to you. So you're going to learn how to achieve more in success in less time, boost productivity, reprogram negative thinking, and plant those seeds for what you desire. Really make intentional affirmations and tap into your imagination and creativity like never, ever before. You'll also learn how to be in your most ultimate state of control while being at ease. So it's not like you have to force yourself to be in control. You could be totally in control while totally relaxed and move forward in a very, very powerful way. Okay, so if that's of interest to you, I will have my team pop the registration link in the chat. Would love to have you join us. If you use HypnoCL10, you can also get 10% off the registration fee. Okay, so you'll save 10%. HypnoCL10, so HYPNOCL10. And so we will make sure to pop that link in the chat for you, or you can reach out to our team. And it's It really is about aligning yourself for a better life. Now, once I finished writing, right? Once I wrote this book, I finally was able to get the chapter to a much, much shorter place, right? It was no longer the whole book. It was just what was available and accessible. But I remember looking at it and realizing that health and well-being truly is one of the most empowering things that I've done, is taking charge of my own health and well-being, making these healthy choices. And I look at how this is translated to my son. He loves pizza. He loves ice cream. And you know what? He's also drinks a green juice every single day for breakfast. He knows that meals need to have a rainbow of colors. He knows how to make healthy choices. And by teaching him that makes me feel so much more empowered. And when I was looking at these lunches that my colleague was bringing, and I started incorporating them into ourselves, it really did. Like I said, it took me about 10 years to come up with so many good practices because I just didn't know where to turn. And it was very complicated. I learned what not to eat, and they didn't give me a lot of alternatives for what I could eat. However, once I finally started collecting a set of healthy living practices, I was able to feel nourished. I was able to feel full. I was able to feel vibrant and alive in ways I never had before. And I got really curious for how to continue my health journey. So this is something I keep doing. But that curiosity back then led me to feel totally, totally empowered. And I know I was discouraged with my running career back in 8th grade. However, years ago, probably about probably about 8, 9 years ago, I ended up entering into a 10K. And I was in Fiji when I made the commitment. And I remember we were in Fiji, the weather's beautiful, and we came back to Canada, and it was March. And we thought it would be nice by March. It was like -20 the day we got back. And I had about a month to train. And I started training because I had made that commitment. And I kept training, I kept training, I kept training, and I finished that 10K in under an hour. I ran the whole time. That was my goal. However, I never realized I could do this. I'd been so discouraged in the past, yet when I found the right motivation, when I found the right meaning and purpose, I became totally empowered. And I know you absolutely can too. So I would love to see you at our Hypnotize Yourself to Success training. If that is of interest to you, definitely click the link to register and type in HypnoCL10 for the 10% reduction in the fees. And if you have any questions about what I talked about today or anything that we can help you with at the Abundance Academy, leave them in the chat or send them to myself or my team. We would be absolutely delighted to serve you. So have yourself a beautiful day, and I will be back again next week.